It's Thursday, February 4th, which means we had AEW, Dynamite, Beach Break, and NXT last night. Who had the better show? What happened in the Tag Team Battle Royale? What was Edge doing at the Capitol Wrestling Center? Find out right now in this Minimalistic Review. Women's Dusty Cup Classic match to start off the night between Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai taking on Casey Catanzaro and Kaden Carter in a very fun women's tag team match. The babyfaces really gave it their all, had me convinced a few times that they might actually win, but in the end, the power of Gonzalez was just way too much, and a late save by Dakota Kai gave Gonzalez a chance to hit a chokeslam and get the 1-2-3. Casey Catanzaro was a lot of fun to watch. She did her super triple flip, back flip, twisty flip, thing again. She also took a big dive off of one of the columns. It was pretty awesome. Let's see some more of her. Edge is seen backstage talking to William Regal. This is the I'm here for. Austin Theory defeated Leon Ruff in a match that had a lot of shenanigans going on. We saw appearances from LeRae and Indy Hartwell, as well as Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart. We also had Dexter Lumis ripping out some of Austin Theory's hair and smelling it, and I'm sure adding it to the collection he has in a dark room somewhere. We then found out, in a pretty cool animation, that the person sitting in the chair during Xia Li matches has been revealed as a dragon who's thousands of years old and became the one thing that they hated most in this world, but in person form. I think. Santos Escobar signs his own death certificate by Maki carrying Cross backstage. And in men's Dusty Cup Classic action, we saw Lucha House Party take on Legado del Fantasma in a really fun match, once again by Lucha House Party, who's been one of my favorite tag teams as of late. I was really hoping they'd win and take on MSK, but Legado did get the win at the end, and that should be a fun match as well, seeing MSK take on Legado del Fantasma. After the match, MSK did come down, polished up the Dusty Cup trophy, and they also made me dislike them just a little bit by talking. Pete Dunne, Oney Lorcan, and Daddy Burch arrive, and just proves that Pete Dunne should be the driver at all times, because Lorcan does not know how to park. Dunn calls out Finn Balor, in which he answers and challenges him to a match at Vengeance Day. Edge then interrupts. Goosebumps. He puts over NXT and both competitors, saying that NXT is the reason that he wanted to come back to wrestling after 9 years. He also teased that he may go after the NXT title since it's something he's never had. Please do it. I seriously doubt it'll happen, but that'd be nice to see. Johnny Gargano's informed backstage that he'll be defending his North American Championship against Kushida at Vengeance Day. He then belittles the interviewer, taking her to William Regal's office in hopes to get her fired, but then when he opens the door, Kushida happens to be there, and they brawl backstage. Jessica Cabello defeats Toni Storm by DQ when Mercedes Martinez came in to start a scrap with Storm. The two battle all over and end up outside, and Io Shirai comes down, kind of chills up on the top rope, then does her moonsault, taking them both out, and I think she broke Mercedes Martinez's nose. Cameron Grimes is announced for next week. Cool. Santos Escobar defeated Kurt Stallion in a Cruiserweight Championship match that seemed like the two competitors were not on the same page for most of it. Obviously, I'm no expert. I'm just a fat guy who likes watching men in tights punch out each other's lights, but something seemed off between the two of them in this match. Partway through, Scarlett appears on a platform behind the announce table, and she just watched. After the match, Cross shows up, takes out the Lucha Dorks, gets in Santos Escobar's face, in which Santos Escobar did not back down, and Cross tells him he's giving him time. TikTok. Then he just shoos him away. Backstage, Edge is leaving the building, giving a little dap to Bronson Reed, and Cross finds him in the parking lot, warns him if he chooses the NXT title, it's not going to be Finn Balor or Pete Dunne that he has to face, it's going to be Cross. Edge took that as a threat and teases that he might want to come back to NXT before then. Please, let's see some Edge matches in NXT. Balor vs. Dunne is made official for Vengeance Day TakeOver, as well as Gargano vs. Kushida for the North American Championship. Ciampa and Thatcher defeat the Undisputed Era in the main event to advance to the semifinals of the Dusty Cup Classic, where they'll take on the Grizzled Young Veterans. And I seriously cannot wait. I'd also say this was probably the best tag team match of 2021 that I've seen so far. All four guys are incredible. Ciampa and Thatcher are made for each other. They make everything seem so real, look so legit, look so painful. I cringe, but in a good way, watching most of their matches. And now that Lucha House Party's out, they're probably my new favorites to win it all. Very good show by NXT. The Edge stuff was super fantastic. Gave me the Rocky goosebumps. And I'm glad that he's spending his time putting over younger or newer guys rather than mixing it up with the older guys. Let's get on to Beach Break. AEW kicked off with a Tag Team Battle Royale in which the winners would get a chance to face the Young Bucks at Revolution for the Tag Team Championships. The winners were MJF and Jericho, after Jericho kind of accidentally dumped Sammy Guevara over the top to win. More on the Inner Circle later. Taz interrupts this week's Sting Talks to Darby Allin and Tony Schiavone in the ring segment just to say that him and Team Taz may disrupt Darby Allin's title defense next week against Joey Janela. Sting says he'll be lurking and he'd have Darby's back to make sure there's no shenanigans. Dr. Britt Baker DMD defeated Thunder Rosa, in my opinion, by far the best AEW women's match up to this point. The two were very evenly matched throughout most of the fight until the end, where Rebel snuck in and took the padding off the turnbuckle, in which, of course, Dr. Britt Baker ran her face first into it, knocking her out. The ref called for the bell after Britt Baker put her in the lockjaw, and Thunder Rosa was unresponsive. This was a good way of protecting her. She couldn't lose, obviously, and she didn't tap. She just was knocked out, so no problems here. Matt Hardy recruits Hangman for a one-night-only tag team match to get revenge against the Chaos Project, who disrupted -1's birthday celebration last week. Hardy and Page make quick work of Chaos Project. The two were having pretty good tag chemistry, and in the end, Hangman hit the buckshot lariat to take out Serpentico, and then Matt Hardy tagged himself in to get the pin and celebrate like he just won it all himself. Matt Hardy's one of my all-time favorites. Hangman's my guy right now. I'm very intrigued. AEW Women's Tournament announced that has a Joshi side and an American side, and the two will meet in the finals to get a chance to compete for the AEW Women's Championship against Shida. Backstage, MJF and Chris Jericho are wanting to celebrate their victory with a little bit of the bubbly with the rest of the Inner Circle, in which Sammy Guevara isn't in the mood to celebrate and tells Jericho how come they're always collateral damage, and then walks off. Jericho follows him, and as he does, MJF approaches the rest of the group and says they need to have a serious talk as Wardlow closes the door and kicks the cameraman out. Ooh, juicy stuff. Wedding time next. Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford have their wedding on AEW Beach Break, and this was a lot of fun. Throughout the ceremony, Miro was very suspicious of all things going on, seeing as he's been in a few wrestling weddings and he knows the tricks of the trade. But he did get duped by Chucky T, who leashed his foot to the ring post while he was distracted, and then out of the cake comes Orange Cassidy and beats up Kip Sabian. This was pretty hilarious. The Miro stuff was funny. Him being like suspicious of everything, even attacking a gift at one point that he thought was too big and that someone might be in it, was pretty hilarious. Shaq and Jade versus Cody and Red Velvet is made official for the March 3rd edition of AEW Dynamite, and they cut to a clip of Inside the NBA where Shaq reveals his finisher, the Black Tornado. Lance Archer defeated Eddie Kingston in a lumberjack match that seemed that only Billy Gunn knows the actual point of the lumberjacks. Tons of interference and shenanigans here, but in the end, Lance Archer wins, and it was fine. The only thing that was somewhat harmful is Eddie Kingston losing again, as he's been continually doing on AEW Dynamite TV. I'm hoping he can get a win soon and get some momentum. FTR kidnapped Marco Stunt because they're not bad guys, they just have to do bad guy things sometimes. And in the main event, Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers defeat Moxley, Rey Fenix, and Pac in a 6-man tag match that was ridiculously fun, but was overshadowed by the ending angle. After the Good Brothers hit the Shatter Machine on Rey Fenix to get the win, a brawl breaks out between all 6 men that leaves Moxley alone in the ring with Omega, in which Moxley rises and he's going to do some work, and then out of nowhere gets attacked by a hooded figure that reveals himself to be freaking Kenta from New Japan Pro Wrestling. This is absolutely insane. AEW Beach Break had 3 other promotions talents on their show tonight, including Impact, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and NWA. This is insane. The wrestling world is colliding to form the Super Wrestling World Voltron, and I'm here for it. What an incredible night of wrestling, from Edge appearing in NXT to Kenta showing up in AEW. It seems like the wrestling world is getting crazier and crazier, and I'm all here for it. Maybe one day we can see an AEW WWE collide. Peace.